A blessed day to all of you, dear brothers and sisters who are here, and also those who are joining us through this live stream in other parts of the world. The church rejoices today with the celebration of this very popular saint in the Roman Church. I remember when I was in Rome, how the festivity of this saint, Saint Lawrence. Now, of course, we have Saint Peter, Saint Paul, but after them, we have Saint Lawrence, the Deacon. And so many stories, legends about Saint Lawrence. One of them was the famous, he was captured together with the Pope that time, Pope Sixtus II, and the Pope was killed right away. But knowing that Lawrence was the treasurer in charge of the goods of the church, so they postponed his martyrdom, and they wanted to confiscate the goods of the church. And within 3-4 days, he distributed the goods of the church to the poor of Rome, so that when he was asked to present and give the riches, supposed to be goods of the church, he declared, gathering the poor of Rome, these are the riches of the church. And he was martyred on this date, according to the tradition of the church. He was born in Spain, the modern Spain, part of what we call Valencia, no? And he met there in Saragossa, part of the Roman Empire that time, was where he met the future Pope, Pope Sixtus II, who was a good teacher of theology. And both of them left Spain and went to Rome, where Sixtus was elected Pope, and he ordained him as deacon of the Roman Church there in among the 7 famous deacons of Rome. And we see here his service to the church now as a deacon. Mainly the idea of deacon, diaconate, as connected with service now. And they have a place in the liturgy. For example, when the deacon is present, he reads the gospel and reads, for example, what our lectors are doing now, the prayers of the faithful, etc., as is the presider. But a greater role of deacons in the tradition of the church, aside from the liturgical functions, is the service of charity, as we can also see in the example of the deacons in the New Testament of the early church, now in charge of the care of the widows and the orphans as we find in the Acts of the Apostles. So this tradition of service now of the church, not only in the liturgical setting, but in the wider space of charity and other roles in the community. That's why with Vatican II, they have restored this service of diaconate, what we call now a permanent diaconate, unfortunately, we do not still have in the Philippines this permanent diaconate, but in other places like Argentina, where I was, no, they have the permanent deacons. These are married men, professionals. After undergoing formation, discernment, they are installed permanent deacons of the church and do many good service to the church. Like, for example, in the community, the deacon, no, where I was, as at the place where I was assigned, no, they are permanent there. They know they better than the priest, like us missionaries who come and go, and they are in charge of the needs, many ministries of the church there, and reflecting precisely the idea, the ministry of deacons as lived by this great saint, Saint Lawrence. The readings today capture or express precisely the example, the life and example of Lawrence, who served generously the church. Generosity that led him even to give his very life for Christ. He who sows sparingly gathers sparingly, it says, but in the first reading. But he who gives generously will reap generously, with so much fruit. And this is the idea, the ideal of Christian service. Our vocation as Christians, that God has given us so much talent, time, opportunities, etc. And He wants us also to put this at the service of His church. But even in ordinary commitments that we have, when one gives generously to his or her work, or his or her engagement in whatever, we know that they give these things, give much fruit. We ask then the Lord that we may grow in this aspect of generosity in our service to God through our brothers and sisters in the church or outside the church or in the government, in the community, wherever we are. May our performance of our commitment be characterized by this generosity as exemplified by this great saint, Saint Lawrence. Amen.